when this fight got made between you and Jared Cannonier, I was like, oh God. How do you think Jared Cannonier is going to fare with trying to get across the void with you?
When he fought Whittaker, he was trying to chop his legs, just kept trying to chop his legs, kept trying to chop his legs. But like I said, I always make these guys wrestlers.
Also on that card, we have DDP taking on Khamzat Chimaev. Talk to me about that main event.
I just don't get why Du Plessis has achieved so much. If he beats Khamzat, I'm never betting against him ever again. Like, I'm literally ever again.
When we were training together, we were talking, and I'm like, why don't you use your jiu-jitsu?
If I'm going in, like, you know, going to pass his guard and stuff, it's to cause more damage. I'm not gonna then gift you that potential chance of recovery. I'm gonna tell you to stand the hell back up and get a highlight reel finish.
Oh, it's 15 time! World champion, Demetrious Johnson! You're listening to the MIGHTYCAST!
What's going on, guys? This episode of the MIGHTYCAST is sponsored by PrizePicks. Now, PrizePicks is a daily fantasy sports game you play directly from your phone. It's very simple. Get on your phone, go to the App Store, and download PrizePicks. And make sure you guys use my promo code MIGHTYCAST. Cool promotion going on right now. You play a lineup of $5 and you're gonna get $50 instantly. And you guys got amazing board to choose from. NFL is almost here, boys. Woo! You have mixed martial arts, Valorant, CSGO, you name it, they got it. Just make the picks at the right place, which is PrizePicks. And UFC 319 is right around the corner, so make sure you guys look at that board, get those picks in, and you know your boy's gonna be dropping his picks inside the community page. So shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring this episode of the MIGHTYCAST. Now let us enjoy this chat with the one and only Michael Venom Page.
Rolling.
I'm sorry, Michael. I see you're sitting there all antsy and shit. You're in fight camp. You know, you're not cutting weight anymore. You're going up to 185, so that's a good thing. I apologize for being late.
Nah, don't be silly, man. Don't be silly. All good. It's just been busy. We've just been doing like back-to-back interviews and so on and so forth today. Kind of get it all. I usually prefer to do it this way, but there was a load of mix-ups earlier on, so it pushed my day. So they got mixed up with the time difference. So they told me a certain time. I was waiting on all these calls and nobody was showing up. I was like, the hell's going on? But then they realized that they got their times wrong. So it pushed me back like an hour. So yeah, just messed me up a bit.
Well, I mean, you are in the UK, but you're fighting in Chicago. So when are you going to come over to America to adjust to the time zone?
To be fair, I never, depending on where it is, it's usually going to be altitude. That's a problem for me. So if you're in like Mexico or something like that, then I'd have to be over there and like be there for at least, I'll probably be a month for the last bit of my camp and do it there. But I haven't fought anywhere where it's just the time zone that's affected me going to America. Weirdly enough, I feel more tired coming back from America. Going there, I never really have an issue. So I'm only going to fly on Monday.
Damn. Monday, so you get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So 5 days. So that's enough to acclimate. But when you go back home, that's when you usually feel the jet lag hit you, when you get back home to the UK.
Yeah, exactly. So when I get back, but obviously there's no worry at that point because I'm not doing anything. I'm usually still kind of just on the come down from the fight. So yeah, no, it's all good.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Well, welcome back to another episode of the MIGHTYCAST. And we're joined by the one and only Michael Venom Page. Michael, like I said before, I'm sorry we had a little, confusion of everything. My daughter came downstairs and not remind me, she told me the lizard just shit in the bed. So I had to go clean that up. But we're here now. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. You're antsy. Well, that's good that, when you go over there, the jet lag's not going to bother you. But I usually always like to ask athletes because it was something I had to deal with going over to Asia.
Oh, yeah, no, I think Asia that's the kind of distance I definitely have to take into consideration, the time, and get there a lot earlier. But just to the States, or where I have fought in the States, it hasn't been that bad at all. Okay,
now we spent some time together in the UK, right? And when this fight got made between you and Jared Cannonier, I was like, oh God. Good luck getting the fucking Michael Venom Page. Good luck, because you have mastered that style so damn well. Like, you know, like I said before, I sit back, I critique people all damn day now, right? But to get in there with you, to feel the presence, to feel the speed, and it's not just your speed, it's also the timing, right? How do you feel about going into this fight against Jared Cannonier? I mean, I know how I feel about it, but I'm not fighting you, right? Because if I was fighting you, everything would be different. But how do you think Jared Cannonier is going to fare with trying to get across the void with you?
Yeah, it's not really his type of thing. I think he's gonna go towards I think all the fights that I've watched him in, he likes to adjust slightly to his opponent. So out of all the ones that I've watched, the closest one that I could say that he'd probably go that route is when he fought Whittaker, because Whittaker likes to have a little bit of a bounce on him. So what he did was he kind of ignored trying to punch him and land the punches to his head. He was trying to chop his legs, just kept trying to chop his legs, and then work his way in. After chopping his legs and slowing him down, tried to work his way in from there. But every time he went for that low kick, you know, Whittaker's jab was on point, and then his 1-2s was on point once he got his time in. So I do believe he's going to go down that route. I think other than that, he's going to have to shoot, in which he doesn't really do that much either. He prefers to press you against the cage in a clinch and then work his takedown from there. So it also means he's having to cross that same void to even get the clinch, because he doesn't usually put his knee down. So we'll see. I think he's going to turn into a bit of a wrestler in order to try and stop that movement and close and then cross that void without getting hit. So he's going to have to try and get to my legs and then maybe work his way back up and maybe go for a takedown. But like I said, I always make these guys wrestlers.
Well, I feel, you know, when we were training together, we were talking, and I'm like, why don't you use your jiu-jitsu? Because when we trained, you did a jiu-jitsu class, you barely did any stand-up. Granted, I was only there for like 2 hours, but you make these guys turn wrestlers. You drop them, and you do your little cute emote, and then you let them get back up, and you do it again, instead of following him to the ground to pass the guard to get a submission. Now, are we going to see just, you know, you dropping people? Are we going to see you drop Jared Cannonier and then just emo, or are you going to drop him and then follow him to the ground and pass that guard and give me a nice little, you know, anaconda or a Barboa choke?
The thing is, if I was to land that shot, drop him to the floor, if I'm going in, like, you know, going to pass his guard and stuff, it's to cause more damage. It's to land more elbows. It's to land more punches. It's not going to be to go for this. If the submission presents itself, then 100%. Sometimes you beat people into submission. I remember, I think I was only doing MMA for about 2 years, and I remember subbing my first black belt, but it wasn't because I was better than him at jiu-jitsu. It's because we were doing ground and pound. I was landing some shots. He buried his head. I threw up a triangle. I carried on landing those shots, and then I squeezed that triangle and got the submission. But I'm not looking for a submission. I'm looking to put damage and put the pause on him.
Okay. I don't know, man. I do be dope to see you did a submission. Then people are like, holy shit, we already know he's dangerous on the feet, and now he's dangerous on the ground. Where can Michael Venom Page be stopped?
You know what it is, though? I feel like even if I was to go for a submission, and I have submission wins already, if I was to go for a submission, the fact is I'm so dangerous standing, people are still going to want to resort to go and taking me to the ground regardless. So even if I, you know, I could win the next 2 fights via submission, people are still going to opt to, you know, clash for me in my jiu-jitsu than they clash me standing. So it's not going to change the results of what people are going to want to, you know, push towards when they're fighting me.
I feel give you a better opportunity, because then they'll be scared. They don't know where to fight you. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, if I take MVP down, I'm going to get fucked there. If I stay on the feet, I'm going to get fucked there too. Just a little bit harder. Where do I fight? And then I feel you put them in this purgatory. It's like, damn if I do, damn if I don't. And then you can start doing whatever you want. That's why I always, when I went with you and I was training.
I agree with you in that sense, because the scenario is slightly different. You're saying if somebody takes me down, then 100% I'm going to, you know, go try for those submissions. But if you're saying, initially you're saying if I was to land a shot, that means I've technically taken you down. I'm not going to then, you know, gift you that potential chance of recovery. I'm going to tell you to stand the hell back up and get that shot again and get a highlight reel finish.
You crack me up. He goes, I'm gonna give you the chance to stand the hell back up, and then I'm gonna knock you back fucking down. like I said, even when I watched your fights previous and when we got together, I was like, damn dog, you be dropping motherfuckers, you ain't passing the guard. He goes, nah, I truly like to knock them out. And that, I mean, that's what makes you special. That's what makes you one. I know we talked about this too. You're a hard matchup to deal with, right? And that's what, you have a hard time getting matched up because people, it's a hard problem to solve. It's a hard style to deal with, especially with your attributes. And that's why I feel, I know when we talked, you want to be more active. You would like to be a lot more active, but people don't have that fight. And so it's interesting. You're in a spot where I heard you talk about it like it's a political game. It's like, you were at 170, now you're at middleweight, and you're like, I want to take the biggest fights. Where would you like to be? Besides taking big fights, where in your heart? Because when you said that, it was almost like you're just trying to get a fight, but in your heart, where would you want to be? Where it's like, guys, I just want to fight at 180 and stay active, or I'd rather be at 170. I feel I have a size advantage. I'd rather just be there. Where in your heart do you want to stay?
Yeah, I've always been clear. My heart of hearts, still welterweight is the one that's calling me, and welterweight is where I want to be. Even though it's a lot more difficult to make that cut, I still prefer it. I feel really, really good. And like you say, I have certain advantages there at that weight, and it feels more like my natural weight. But at the same time, if I add all the politics, then I just want good fights. So, and wherever that takes me is where you're going to see me, which is why I've always done in my whole career. You see me do bare knuckle, you see me do jiu-jitsu, you see me do the kickboxing. Like I go where there, I can challenge myself. So if there's not a clear path and there's too much roadblocks, then, I'll make a diversion and go elsewhere.
Would you go 205?
100%. Again, it has to be the right fight, because again, I'm giving up so much weight that if it's a good fight, I'm gonna get a guy that feels like he's gonna knock me out. Then I'll do it. I've sparred people that weight before. Again, the advantages for them is gonna be when we clinch and when we're grappling. But yeah, I'll definitely do it.
Well, you mentioned something about politics, and I want to talk about this. Another person on the same card that you're fighting, Lerone Murphy, talked about politics as well. Like, if you're not exciting, if you're not this and this, even though I think he's 7-0 in the UFC, where does how do you feel politics plays a part in your journey to try to make it to the title? Because, I've been going on this tangent about how it shouldn't be a part of your journey to get to the world title, right? Like, you're being 170. If you're the next in line, you have to fight me. How has politics changed your viewpoint on the sport or the entertainment business of mixed martial arts? It took me a long time, because I'm a person that I like to go where the path of least resistance. Again, I think that's the Caribbean in me. Like, I don't really want the stress of anything, and I prefer to go, if this is a comfortable, relaxed route, I'll go that way. But what I realize, in absolutely everything that you do, it becomes political, and you have to be, or learn to be, valuable in that sense, or just good at the politics of wherever that may be, whether it be working, you could be a mechanic, there's going to be politics in that. You could be just everything. It requires politics. When there's people involved, it gets political. So in this game in particular, your popularity has to be up there, because it makes things slightly easier to not demand, but push for certain things, or you have to be good at the politics, know who you need to speak to, know who you need to appease. Like, it's just part of absolutely every single game. And again, as much as I don't like it, I learned in my life that it's gonna be a part of what I need to do. So I'm like, yeah, let's get it done. Now, do you leave the politics to yourself, or do you leave that to your manager? Because I understand the politics side, right? And I feel an athlete, your job is to make sure you're the best version of yourself when you step inside the octagon or a ring or cage, whatever it may be. But if you also have to put effort and time away from training to focus on the political side of things, I feel you're leaving stuff you could use some of that energy in your recovery or training more, not focus on that. So do you put more effort into the political side, or do you allow your managers to do that?
Again, you have to have a good team around you. And unfortunately, if some people are not going to be blessed with having the right people, and for me, it starts with your direct surroundings, friends and family. And I always like to lean on the people around me initially. And then obviously you try and get more qualified people to, deal with the politics. But I always say, regardless, nobody wants and knows what you want more than you do. So even when you get someone that's exceptional at what they do, you need to put yourself forward as well, and kind of don't just leave it to somebody else. You need to demand certain things and push for certain things yourself. And also, part of the politics is people always want to know the guy. So when people are hearing it through the third person, even though they understand it's supposed to go that route, sometimes in order to get what you want, you have to go and make that meeting, and you have to go and be there and be present, because they appreciate it more, and then more stuff can happen for you because of it.
What's going on, guys? This episode is sponsored by TRUE Classic. Now, TRUE Classic, they're known for their t-shirts being high premium, buttery soft, but did you guys know TRUE Classic has pants, boxer briefs, polos, socks? They have everything, and all of it is very, very high quality at a very low cost to your pocketbook. So if you guys want to try out TRUE Classic, go to trueclassic.com/mighty. And the thing I love about TRUE Classic is that this is a medium, and it comes tailor fit right out of the package. It's a high collar. It fits the biceps very well, no loose material. And I'm a build of 5'3", athletic build, big shoulders, big biceps, big chest, abs poking through all the time, and it fits directly on my body. I don't have to go to a tailor to get it to have that nice trim fit on my body. So if you guys need to update your wardrobe right before school, or you have a business meeting coming, go to trueclassic.com/mighty, and that's gonna help you save on your complete order and help you upgrade your wardrobe. Stop wearing that old dingy ass white t-shirt. Get yourself a fresh TRUE Classic t-shirt like your boy right now. Shout out to TRUE Classic for sponsoring this episode of the MightyCast. Now, let us get back to our guest. Okay. Yeah, I remember the last meeting I had with Dana White, and they're showing me John Dotson beat my ass. And they're like, we got to sell this pay-per-view because you're just too good. And I was like, guys, I think this is whole wrong. You got to have me whooping his ass again to sell more. And I was like, nah, it doesn't work that way. But it is what it is. I had never played the politics side when I was in the middle of my journey. So they hear another athlete. I've heard other athletes talk about that, but to hear somebody in 2025 who is very exciting, very difficult to deal with inside the cage when they fight you, to hear you talk about you're not the only athlete who just said this. Like I said, Murphy on your card said the exact same thing. And it's just, there's a piece of me where it pisses me off, because even in the UFC BJJ, I don't know if you watched that, Kennedy Malfacini, he competed and he beat the guy. And then Claudio Gadelha was like, you know what? Like, we don't know if we're going to bring it back because he's just not excited. And I'm like, is this a sport or is this entertainment? Because last time I checked, the whole goal is to fucking win, not to, if you put on a show, you put yourself in a position where you can get submitted or you get knocked out. So there's like this fine line that it just frustrates me a lot when I hear people say that and they talk about politics. I was like, Michael Venom Page shouldn't be worried about politics. He should worry about go stop at a foot in homeboy's ass. Not like, oh, I got to make sure I make this guy happy. You just need to win. So I always like to ask, like, what's your mindset going into the politics side of it? Not that you're the only person who speaks about it, but there's many people on the roster, not just in the UFC, but also in the UFC BJJ as well. Well, I'm super excited for that fight with you and Jared Cannonier, but also on that card, we have DDP taking on Khamzat Chimaev. Now, you're in the middleweight division. Obviously, I know your heart is saying you want to go back to welterweight, but you're looking for the biggest fight. You go out there, you make a big showcase against Jared Cannonier. Your potential next matchup could be for the middleweight strap. Talk to me about that main event, DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev. Like, what's your thoughts on those athletes? How do you think the fight's going to play out?
Man, it's so difficult simply because I think, okay, they're both titans in their own right. I just don't get why Plessis has achieved so much, because and again, I say it sounds like, I keep saying it. I keep saying it, and I feel ultra disrespectful, and I don't mean to be. I'm just trying to be honest with my feelings on when I watch him. He seems like, and I used an example earlier on, which I feel is fitting, and as you as a fighter will understand. Sometimes you can spar some, like new guys in the gym, just like they don't have the experience, but they hit you because they do some crazy stuff. They can wing their hands and just do random stuff, and it lands because it's not a conventional punch or it's not a conventional kick. That's what Plessis represents for me, but at the highest level. And his fights seem messy. Like there's nothing about him that says if I was to see him on the rise, I would ever pick him to say, okay, that's going to be the guy, the next guy that's going to be a world champion. But one thing he does exceptionally well is he knows how to grind out a win. He just seems to know. Seems to find his way to success. And I'm telling everybody, this will be the last time I bet against him. If he beats Khamzat, I'm never betting against him ever again. Like I'm literally ever again. I don't care if you lot are telling me he's going to be fighting John Jones. I'm going to be like, he's going to win. I don't care. I'm telling everyone this now. I'm edging Khamzat because I've had the privilege of getting to see him as well. But DDP just seems to know how to find his way to victory. So if he wins again, then never again. Never again.
Yeah. Well, I find it fascinating because I agree with you, right? And I feel like, when me and you train, we both have a certain rhythm. We have a cadence. It's like, okay, this is a traditional cadence. I've seen this my whole entire life. So you can adapt to it a lot quicker. But when you have that person, like you said, who's just button mashing, in a technical, not a technical way, but he knows what he's doing, but he's button mashing. I can't be successful if I fought the way DDP fought, right? He's the only person who can fight that way and be able to beat guys like Izzy, Robert Whittaker. I mean, the list just goes on to the guys he's beaten because he's developed that style. And it's funny because I feel that's what gives him that special powers, right? Where, when you look at Khamzat, he fucking wrestles. And if he doesn't win that first clash, granted, in the past, he's been kind of like not recovering. He's been unhealthy, essentially, from what he said, from what I read online. But if he doesn't win that first clash, that's where it's like, oh, what's next? What's going to happen to him?
Yes and no. So what I believe, he packs a punch. Like he actually has a heavy hands as well. And in his last fight against Whittaker, although it was short, in the short space of time, I saw a different shift in his energy. He wasn't I call him like Crash Bandicoot. He comes out and it's all guns blazing. I'm throwing everything out my toolbox immediately. But that last one, he seemed a lot more composed. He looked like he was taking his time. If he does that, he seems like he's matured. If he does that in this fight, he can do 5 rounds and he'll be dangerous for 5 rounds. But again, yes, his best chances are going to be in the earlier rounds.
I love how you use the reference of Crash Bandicoot because I feel a lot of the viewers are going to know of that amazing. He was the only character who looked absolutely high, drunk, and on drugs. That was like pretty much the poster boy for fucking PlayStation.
Facts. That is absolute facts.
Literally, like, when you said that, all I can think about him and his fucking hands just sitting there like, Rah! And spinning around and doing absolutely crazy dog shit when you're playing the game. Good reference, my friend. Good reference. But I still, even though he looks similar to when he fought, not when he fought Khamzat. When Khamzat fought Kamaru Usman and when he fought Robert Whittaker, I felt it was the same. I just felt that he got that crash. He won that first crash with Whittaker super fast. So when you get a chance to see him like weather that storm like he did, or not get out of that first crash like he did with Kamaru Usman, that's where I'm like not betting on, but I think if DDP can get out of that first thing, I think DDP is going to stifle the fuck out of him. And then it's going to be like, I just don't know. I just need more data on Khamzat's, adversity? Can he battle adversity? You know what I mean?
I agree with what you're saying. I weirdly think if it was me and as if I'm Khamzat, I come in striking first. Mm-hmm. I come in faking takedowns and landing big overhands, faking takedowns, because DDP gets hit and gets hit a lot. He's hard to kill, but he gets hit a lot. You fake, and like I said, he does have crazy power in his hands, and you fake and you jump knee, you fake, you land overhands, you fake, and make him confused, because now he's like, well, I got to keep my hands up because I'm getting hit lows, and then you start to wrestle. Yep. I feel like he'll be more successful in his wrestling than if he starts. Everyone kind of knows and expects that you're going to start with your wrestling. So I can be a little bit better prepared. And instead of using your ego and still being like, well, I'm so good at wrestling, I'm going to get you down anyway, and drain yourself. Let's be more tactical. Let's fake him. He's going to heavily sprawl and go for things. So that means his head's going to drop. You got big shots, big uppercuts, big knees, big overhands that you can land early in the round and then slowly drown him later.
And then if you're a DDP, how would you approach the fight against Khamzat? Because we all know he just shoots from way outside the void. It's a massive shot. Right? Like I reference it, like I don't know if you've ever seen Titanic, he's basically like Jack trying to save Rose from drowning on that piece of board. Yeah, so if you're DDP, how would you approach the fight against Khamzat?
Again, he's difficult to explain because I don't get his style well enough because it's so all over the place. And I kind of feel like that's his superpower as well. It's slightly messy, he comes in, but he's also very good at wrestling as we've seen in everything. So I feel like know that you're confident in wrestling. Maybe like you say, you kind of know that you're going to have a heavy first, second round, and just know that you just need to stay alive. And then you're going to slowly just creep him and eventually get a submission or land a shot of your own.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I like how you said that viewpoint of like if Khamzat comes out there and starts with the hands and then start to use your wrestling, that will throw a different dynamic in how to view that fight, because each time you see him fight, it's always a shot. It's always a fucking shot. Like it's like I think there should be a line or not a line, but I would like, hey man, I bet you $1,000 this motherfucker gonna shoot in the first minute. Will Khamzat shoot first or will he throw a punch first? And I'm like, he's gonna shoot first because that's what he does, and he's been so successful with it, right? Like everybody he shot on, Kamaru Usman, Robert Whittaker, Kevin Holland, everybody
takes down.
He always lands that first takedown, and so for me, I feel like why would he get away from the well when he can just keep drawing from it all day, every day?
Yeah. No, I agree. I just feel like it can come at a slightly different time, a slightly unexpected time. It will still be your first shot and you'll still have that success, that 100% success, but you just stifle your opponent by beating them up with your hands and your feet, for a minute and a half before that shot comes.
Well, I don't want to look past Jared Cannonier, but if you were to fight either one of those guys, how would you approach it?
Again, I still have to just be myself. It's obviously going to be difficult. These guys are both exceptional on the floor, and I feel it's exactly going to be the same way. I'm going to be training the hell out of wrestling and fatiguing my arms, and then getting up and fatiguing the hell out of my arms, and directly after that standing up and punching pads and trying to gain the same power. My power has to come in the second half of the fight and be maintained, because it's weird, because even weird enough, it came up for me the other day, the Conor McGregor-Khabib fight. And I think it was round 3 where Khabib was tired of taking him down and he got up a couple of times. And Conor started to mix his hands in a little bit. And Khabib didn't really, they were screaming for him to shoot, but you can tell he was quite tired as well. And he was landing shots, but there was no power behind it because he was fatigued from all that counter wrestling and trying to defend himself, grappling. So he was fatigued. If he had that power maintained in his arms, when he got up and his opponent's tired from wrestling, that's when you could finish the fight. And that's what I feel like I'd have to do.
I love it. I love it. I just feel that it's such an interesting time where we get to see, you're going to be on the same card. And whether politics are involved or not, I can't think of another person in the middleweight division who's next. I feel like DDP's kind of cleaned out everything. Like I try to do my best to keep track, but he's beat Sean Strickland. He's beat Izzy Adesanya. He's beat Robert Whittaker. You know, Robert Whittaker just lost to RDR. You know, you're back in the mix now. So they have you, then they have RDR. So
Chimaev as well.
You could run out there and win this fight, and then you'd be next up to fight.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again,
Nasruddin. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Yeah. As you say, like, you can't look past anybody, and I would never look past it. Somebody as experienced as Cannonier, I would never overlook him. But just talking in the sense of me achieving, getting this fight, getting it done the way I want to. What happens next? It definitely just puts me in that top. Is all those names? It puts me in the same circle as, which is one step closer to a title fight. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Love it. Okay, besides the fighting, what's going on? What else has been keeping you busy? I think you just got married recently. Like, I think I saw that you and the wife tied the knot. How's the married life treating you during the training camp?
Yeah, definitely. We've like you say, tied the knot. We're actually going to do a celebratory wedding for like the family next year. But we were official, married. And to be fair, for me, our married life is amazing. Like, I have to say, I'm blessed in the woman that I have found. My partner, I'm super blessed. Our families as well. It's so weird. It feels like our families have known each other forever, because they gel so well. Even over the last couple of weeks, I've had 3 of my siblings and 6, 7 of my nieces and nephews all staying around the house with them, and they love them to bits. Like, my in-laws love them to bits. And it really does feel like we'd always had this one family, and it's just the synchronicity is just unbelievable. So I'm a happy man in that sense. It's been busy all with family stuff, but also in, like, you guys know Kish. I spoke about him the last time. We had him on camera as well. He's here. He set up everything. Me and him also. We also set up our film company, ITM Productions, In the Moment Productions, and that's exactly what we try to do, bring people in the moment in the film. I find a lot of films nowadays, they focus on how much more can we blow up and what other big name star can we have in there. And although we're a small company, I want to get real talent that really can tell and ask for really to tell stories, not just about just making money. It's about telling amazing stories. And we've done our first 2 short films. We've got the trailers that's going to be dropping soon. We're going to be putting them in for film festivals and so on and so forth. And, then we're going to be pushing for bigger funding. So we've got a slate of projects that we're looking to do. So we're going to be pushing for funding to kind of get that done. That side's been exciting, because I'm also looking to kind of go into that world later after I finish here, in the MMA and with the UFC. I'm looking to kind of get into the acting space as well. So even just learning about how things work behind the curtains, behind the camera, has been, amazing. So, and seriously, Kish, he directed this film as if and wrote this film as if he has done it for 20 plus years, like a vet. And people that worked with him were all saying like, oh, like how many times you done this? And he's like, oh no, this is my first one. They're like, what? They were confused. These are people that's been in the game years, and they're like, oh, okay. If you say so, liar. Like,
wow.
He's so good at what he does. He's so good.
He said, okay, liar, you fucking...
So it's been good.
What?
No, sorry, go on.
What brought this about? No, what brought this about? Because for me, fighting is so short, right? It's something that you love to do. It's something I used to love to do. And, I'll never forget what Dana White says. Fighting is a very short window of your time in life. And I feel athletes, they get into the grind every day. You wake up, you train, wake up, train, wake up, train. And then when it's time to, call it quits or you're ready to move away from it, you're almost like, okay, what do I do? So to hear that you're inspired by in the moments, your projects, what inspired that passion to come out?
Well, I've always been a creative mind, and I think that if you obviously only have to look at my fighting style and know that I don't like to do things the conventional way. Know that if I learn a jab punch, I now have to learn how to do it starting with my hand behind my back and then landing a jab. Like I've always tried to be creative, and I love the entertainment world in general. If you look at my walkouts, like I incorporate music, I incorporate like visuals, like I'm very involved in all that kind of stuff. My celebrations, I'm always thinking of the next thing. So it's that same mindset, but now idol. I don't know, what do I do with it? So it's like, okay, let me utilize that in film, something that I really like watch. I love going to films, and I'm always that guy that notices the inconsistencies, the continuity errors and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, let's get into this and do it right. Then I also found myself with a person that's doing filming for me that also thinks the same way. Kishan thinks exactly the same way. So even when we're doing stuff for myself, my own socials, we bounce back and forth off each other very seamlessly, because I'm not just the fighter. I'm a person that will also give ideas to how we can then, make the picture look and what stories to tell and how we can tell it. So with that, we're like, let's just do it on a bigger scale. And I know, as you say, it's a short window. I know that I'm going to need to get into other things. I'm also, obviously, I'm an entrepreneur in my own right. I've opened restaurants myself. I'm now invested in a restaurant, and we're doing a lot of things there. I'm doing multiple other business, but my creative side, I always know that my creative side still needs to keep going, and film is definitely a path I see myself in. And it allows me to really say goodbye to MMA when I decide to say goodbye, because so many athletes leave, and as you say, then they don't know what to do with themselves, and then they crave that same feeling of the crowd and the even if they have that creative mind as well, they crave all those things, and they end up coming back and losing to some up and coming youngster, and kind of ruining a little bit the legacy that they left behind. And I don't want to do that.
I fucking love it, man. I want to go down the whole film stuff. Like, man, did you guys shoot it yourself? Because I was talking to one of the other producers about, like, we did the training arc. We just did training arc part 2, and when I'm in it and I'm teaching, and I'm working with the Death and Wing C, like, I love working with them, and then to see the finished product and then to see what the viewership and the community views of it, it's like, man, like, I want to do something else. So to hear that you're already in that, like you already have all that stuff going on, it inspires me to be like, nah, that's something I want to do as well. When do the trailers drop? Because I'd love to put it in the link in the description. That way we can help promote your movies and your projects.
Amazing. No, I appreciate that a lot. And we can get that sent over to you straight after. So I'll get that sent over to you ASAP. We did 2 films, one called Wait, which is kind of, I'll say, if I keep it in brief, one is kind of about anxiety and what that looks like when you're waiting for something positive and something negative, and how those two identities can look almost the same. And then one called Runner, which is about the toxic side of a athlete's mind, and we did it through a female track runner, and just shows you how toxic that that mind that can be, and how the negative side of it, of wanting to kind of be the best and be a champion. And again, there's a few spins on both, and it's just I'm getting shivers now because I've seen it. It's
you gave me goosebumps.
Yeah. I'm telling you, trust me, it's dope. And again, this is just our 2 shorts. We've done it on a very small budget. And I know this is exactly what's going to happen. People are going to see exactly what we produce on a very small budget and be like, yeah, take my money. And then we'll show them exactly what we really can do.
Cinema. I can't wait to see it. Well, shit, man. Well, you know what? It's always a joy to talk to you. It was so nice to get to, hang out with you for a little bit, short time when I was in the UK. I don't want to take too much of your time. Michael, what do you got for my man Michael Venom page before we let him go? Because That's a great note to end off of, because I can't wait to see that stuff and then be able to pick your brain more about that side. And then when you transition out of mixed martial arts, to be able to talk to you about that eye and you getting into that. Michael, go ahead. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Let's connect, man. Like, let's really connect. If that's something that you wanted to get into. And like I said, Kishan is a GOAT in this, and he's only just started. So imagine what he's going to do when we really get going. So yeah, we definitely will connect and all of that.
No, yeah, good to see you again, MVP.
You too, bro.
No, I wanted to ask a little bit more about that Cannonier matchup. So I've seen Cannonier talk a little trash. He was saying he didn't like that. He kind of felt like he was forced to accept this matchup, and he wanted a ranked middleweight. But I actually think it's a tremendous showcase, for him if he does want to get a title shot. And what are your thoughts on that matchup? Because Cannonier's a guy who used to be heavyweight, right? And you're someone who usually fights at 170. So what are your thought process going into that against a guy who is Cannonier's fought everyone. He's fought, Whitaker. He's fought all the top guys at middleweight. What are your thoughts going at someone just that big and strong?
Again, you just have to respect that caliber that he is. You have to respect the power that he's going to possess. When he grabs you, he's not going to feel like your average middleweight. He's going to feel a lot heavier than that. He's going to feel a lot stronger than that. If he hits you, he's going to feel a lot more powerful than your average person when you're fighting and sparring. But this is what we prepare for. This is why I put myself in the deep end. This is why I put myself through the trenches, just so I am ready to not get touched, not get hit, land my shots, stop any of his takedowns, and then get back and keep landing those shots and finally put him to bed, put him to rest. But I got so much respect for him because, again, his calibers of the people that he's been fighting and what he's done. It's never an easy fight with all these top guys that he's fought. Nobody's walked through him. It's always a challenging fight, which shows you the caliber that he is. I understand how he may feel, but I do believe my name, the status that I've managed to create, holds weight regardless of the rankings. Before the rankings, you just fight top fights and in hope that you'd get pushed forward to fight. And I feel like we need to forget about the rankings sometimes and just go like, yeah, look, it's a big name fight, and people will still give you the same respect there after winning that fight and push you forward to saying, no, he deserves a title fight if he was to beat a person like me. So I think he's thinking about it the wrong way, and if he's going in there sulking, then it just makes it easier for me to get the win.
Yeah, and to harp on that, to piggyback on that, rankings are absolutely stupid. It's like who dictates the ranking this person's rank? I think the last time we saw the rankings actually be true was when Joshua Van beat Brandon Royval, and Brandon Royval was a number one contender, ranked number one in the flyweight division, and I think Joshua Van was 15. He beat 15, beat 1. Now it's like this. Boom. That's how it should have been, right? Or boom. Like, he went to number one spot. Now he's getting a title shot. But they still don't know. We had Dominic Cruz on, and Dominic Cruz goes, oh, it's based on your pay. That's how you dictate the rankings. And I'm like, what? Like, I just feel the rank. Yeah.
What? Okay.
Well, that's his viewpoint, right? But still, like, it's very hard, and I always tell people, like, it's very hard to dictate a rankings in mixed martial arts. It's easy to do it in a race. Like, if me, you, Michael, and Kishan were to race, and it's like, okay, MVP came in first, I came in second, he's third, he's fourth. There's your rankings right there. Yeah. But here, it's like the politics are playing an aspect to it. So it's like, you can't say, well, he's not, I'm ranked higher than him, so I shouldn't have to fight him. It's like, I can beat ranked number 2, 3, 4, 5. You're ranked 13. So should I be wasting my time? Like, it's a very touchy subject where it's more about the politics when it comes to the rankings. So the rankings are like literally bullshit in mixed martial arts. It's like,
it's a weird one.
It's
a weird one. I think people are spending too much time worried about rankings and not enough about just fighting now. The other thing that I'm not annoyed about, but I've always said, and I've said this for years, that it shouldn't be a thing. Now, who's it that's going up for? He's coming up from lightweight to welterweight now.
Islam
is
Makhachev.
coming up from lightweight to welterweight.
Islam.
Now, I don't mind people trying to become a double champion. Like it's obviously it's a massive achievement to say that you've got 2 belts, but it is a win-win for the person that is the lighter weight coming up, because you lose nothing. So if I go up, if I'm a welterweight champion, I got my belt, I go up to middleweight, I fight the middleweight champion, I lose, I'm still the welterweight champ. But in my opinion, what should happen is I go up to middleweight, but I put my belt on the line, which means if I lose that fight, I get stripped of my belt and I become the number 1 rank again. And that belt is now for the number 2 and 3 to fight over. And then maybe I can go back and have a title, challenge, elimination, and then go back for that belt again. But you should have something to risk when you're moving up, not that you hold up that division and you get in everybody, you jump the line of the new division and you have nothing, nothing to lose from it. You know what I mean? And everything to gain. So I think if you're going to do the fight, I think you should if you lose that fight, you should know that you're going to be losing that belt. And I feel less people will take those risks in moving up.
Yeah, and I think that's why they did the whole thing with Ilia Topuria when he went up to 155, they relinquished that belt. Now you have Volkov versus who did Volkov fight for that belt? He fought Diego Lopez, beats Diego Lopez, and then you had Ilia Topuria fight Charles Oliveira for that belt at 155, and then now you have Islam fighting JDM for that belt. So I think that's why they don't do the double champs anymore. But I still feel it's almost like, Ilia Topuria, so 155, it's like Ilia Topuria jumps over Mavzar, but Mavzar, can't stay healthy enough to get to the fight. So the rankings are just an interesting thing. And it's like, I try to put a little thought into it where it's like, oh, he's a number 1 ranked guy. Like Michael Wandover will say, you're telling me that Ilia Topuria is the best lightweight in the world? No, he's not. Islam Makhachev is. It's almost like the same thing with John Jones. He's not the best heavyweight in the world. Francis Ngannou is, because he's never lost, and he never lost that UFC title. He just left. He was like, you guys are going to pay me enough, I'm going to go box, make more money. He had his MMA debut in PFL. He won that fight. So it's like he's still the heavyweight champion of the world, essentially, because he never lost that belt. So it's, we can bake this cake any way we want, any fucking way we want.
Yeah, so true.
One other thing before we let you go, I wanted to ask about when DJ and I were in the UK, you guys obviously did that sparring together. What did it feel like for you? Just because I know talking to DJ, he was like, that might have been the fastest guy that I've ever sparred with. Like you could say DJ if that is true, but what was it like for you getting to work with DJ?
Sparring with Mighty Mouse was again, it was interesting because he's somebody that has spoken, obviously he critiques and speaks on a lot of fights, and he's spoken on about my style and fighting before and what he would do. So I was like, yeah, I got to show you, what it is that people are having the struggles with in terms of what he talks about is crossing that void. So yeah, and it doesn't surprise me. He said, I'm fast. I know I'm fast in those areas, and I've had multiple people say that to me before. But you can tell if me and him was the same weight, that would be a very difficult fight, even with my speed. So training with DJ, it was an experience that I wish I was able to have done more, because he's just obviously he's a GOAT of the game. He's one of your one of the icons of the sport, with the things that he's achieved, what he's done, his style. He's very well-rounded. Just great experience. It was just, and then he came in with such a burst of like good energy as well. Sometimes when you meet certain people of status, it's, their personality could be different to, what you perceive them as. But yeah, I had a great time training with him, working with him, rolling with him, sparring with obviously we play his sparring as well, but just experiencing his intensity and intense pace. It was just fun.
Like I was actually impressed how fast you were. Like, I was like, holy shit, like, this is a lot harder to deal with. And like I always say, I'm 5'3", he's like 6'2", and the timing, the speed, and even though he has the speed, his understanding of timing makes that speed on 10x. It accelerates it, essentially. So it was a great to be able to move with him and have a good time, just vibing out, right? Nobody got hurt. No egos were at play whatsoever, and I enjoyed it.
Thank you, DJ. It's always a blessing. It was a blessing to actually meet you. You are the GOAT. I was gonna say that. I'm glad to see you doing so well in what you're doing. After your career, again, as you say, it's inspiring to see that there are different paths that people can take for fighters like myself. And again, thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure, always a laugh, always good fun. And I'll see you next time, man.
No, man, pleasure's all mine. I'm grateful I got the opportunity to share some training with you when I was over in London. I mean, your speed, your timing, and just your understanding of the void was a treat for me to be able to enjoy. So, boys, if you guys enjoyed this episode of the MIGHTYCAST, please leave a like, subscribe. Also, hit the bell to go live. And do yourself a favor, go follow MVP. He's dropping banger after banger on the YouTube channel, him and his producer. I am your host, Demetrious Johnson. That is our guest, Michael Venom Page. And my right-hand man, Michael Wandover. Make sure you guys check out his fight at UFC 319 as he takes on Jared Cannonier. Boys, we will see you guys at the next episode of the MIGHTYCAST. What's going on, boys? Welcome back to another episode of the MIGHTYCAST, and we're going to recap everything we just went through with Michael Venom Page. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I am more excited about his projects outside of the octagon, him talking about the 2 short films that he just did. He's going to put those into a, film festival, and I'm excited. I'm always excited to see athletes do something outside of mixed martial arts because, you don't really get to see the creativity in what other athletes' passions are when they're fighting. And so for me to hear him speak passionately about his projects besides fighting really inspired me, especially about the one about the track star, like the female track star talking about anxiety. Oh, no, excuse me, not anxiety. That's the other one. Talking about the toxicity of her being an athlete. It truly gave me goosebumps because, this is coming from a place of an athlete who's fought on the biggest stage. And I feel a lot of filmmakers today haven't really been in those shoes, if that makes sense, right? Like, you look at Michael Bay, he's probably never been in a car chase his whole entire life. He's probably never been in any, I'm not saying that doesn't make them a great filmmaker because I fucking love Bad Boys 1 and the original Transformers, but I think it's kind of cool to see a short film from a high level athlete. And obviously he's got the fight, against Jared Cannonier, which when I saw that matchup, I felt like that booking came very late into UFC 319, right? I felt like UFC 319, Michael, Wandover was like, dude, it's in Chicago, but as of right now, it's just DDP versus Khamzat. They didn't really release the card, and it had Movzar versus Aaron Pico. And then eventually started adding more, and I felt like the Jared Cannonier versus MVP was a late addition to UFC 319, and I like that matchup. At middleweight, I hope he stays at middleweight because I think that's a better fitting for him. He is on the older side of an athlete, so I don't see the reason why to keep cutting down to welterweight. Granted, he'll have more of an advantage. Speaking of advantage, Jared Cannonier used to be heavyweight, now he's down at middleweight. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited for that matchup between him versus Jared Cannonier.
No, yeah, I mean, MVP, and just to give a shout out to his director, his producer, you could go at Directed by Kish on IG, and yeah, he helped us record this interview using that FX3 in the car. So shout out shout out to the producer. But something I always say about MVP, I just respect his philosophy so much about fighting, and I actually said this to him in person when we were in UK, and which I'm not just sucking up to him, but he's a guy who, when he goes out there, it's almost more important to him to put on a show than to win, right? DJ, even you said to him about, why didn't you jump on Ian Gary when you knocked him down? Because MVP likes to put on a show. He likes to taunt. He likes to do the snake, all that stuff. And it's part of what makes him get these big matchups. I mean, if you pull up the UFC welterweight rankings. MVP's ranked 15. He's not ranked at middleweight, yet he's getting this fight against the number 8 ranked middleweight in the UFC, Jared Cannonier, and he's getting it in the undercard of Khamzat versus DDP. So you know what that means, right? If MVP puts on a show and he has one of his crazy knockouts, he does the taunts, all that stuff, he's going to be right in there in the mix in that middleweight top contender rankings.
Yeah.
That's when you know approaching the fight game that way does pay off in the long run.
I agree with you. Him being entertaining is giving these opportunities, and if he does go out there and puts on an exciting fight against Jared Cannonier, he could be the next matchup against the winner of DDP versus Khamzat. And that's why I used to like back in the day. You've spoken about this. Like typically when they have a title fight, they have like the number 1 contender fighting on that same card. That way it kind of hypes up like, oh, this is the more contender. They just fought. It's a co-main event. And then you have the main event, and then those two are going to fight eventually down the line. Granted, Jared Cannonier versus MVP isn't the co-main event. You have Aaron Pico taking on, who is he taking on? Hang on. Aaron Pico's taking on Lerone Murphy. Another exciting fight on that card. But I'm super excited for MVP to have this opportunity, and I agree with you. He puts entertainment on in front of, you know, the rankings and trying just to win the fight. And that's why he's still one of the most fan favorite people to watch, because his knockouts and his emotes, they're hilarious. And then I never forget when he dropped Ian Gary, he lit him back up and I was like, don't let him up, finish him. But the man loves to drop people and put on a show for the fans. So I'm excited to see it, man.
Yeah. And it was a pleasure for me to get to film you guys sparring, just seeing that might have been the 2 fastest guys striking that I have filmed you and Henry sparring, but that still MVP I've not personally seen a striker move that way, especially he's a tall, big dude, which he reminds me of Anderson Silva in the way where people thought Anderson Silva was skinny, but if you meet him, he is not skinny. Like he's a big boy. Guy. Yeah. So I didn't think Michael was that skinny for how long he is, and fucking fast striker.
Yeah, he's got a big, like his shoulders are broad, and he's got a big, like his torso is pretty massive. You know, granted, he's standing next to me, who's 5'3". It's almost like Forrest Griffin. Like when you look at Forrest Griffin next to like Stephen Bonner, when those two fight, you're like, oh, they seem similar size. But when you stand next to Forrest Griffin, you're like, oh my God, you are a massive body. And I got that same feeling when I met MVP. I was like, you are a big boy. Like, you know, obviously when he's standing, it's always, you put things into perspective. You don't see how big they truly are when they're next to somebody and you see them on TV. But then when you actually meet them in person, it's like, wow, you're a big boy. So I'm super excited about that fight. And I can't wait to see, you know, UFC 319. That's pretty much a banger pay-per-view. It's a great way to end the summer, right? We had UFC 318, which was UFC 318. Who was that? That was, what was the UFC 318? I forget.
Holloway Poirier.
Yeah, Holloway Poirier. That's why there's so many fight cards you just forget about who just fought. Like Rashad Evans says, the spotlight is always moving on different athletes. But I think it's a great way to end the summer with Khamzat taking on DDP, because I felt like Khamzat, you know, there's always that question about him. You know, how is he going to go out there and fight a guy like DDP who's been so successful fighting guys that are traditional and untraditional? And will the King of Africa remain the champion, or will Khamzat be able to become a world champion? I mean, it's a long time coming, and I feel like that's a true number 1 contender taking on the champion in that division.
Yeah, and of course, to remind everyone, we will have the UFC 319 final predictions this week. And also to remind people, once again, we're doing something a little different. So DJ is actually going to live stream versus the traditional instant reaction, which you guys really enjoyed that last time. So you'll be able to actually watch Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat with DJ, get his especially instant reaction because you're seeing it live. And then also just another reminder, Mighty Guru. I'm excited for that one next week, because we're going to be able, if knock on wood, if DDP and Khamzat, I saw someone tweet this, I'm not going to believe that DDP versus Khamzat's happening until Bruce Buffer says their names. Like, you just get a bad feeling about just Khamzat or just something. When a fight's this good, it makes you think it's like not going to happen. So I'm excited for that, Mighty Guru. So plenty to come this week for three UFC 319 content on the Mighty channel.
That's right, baby boys. And if you guys enjoyed this episode of the MightyCast, please leave a like, subscribe. Also, hit the bell when we go live, and make sure you guys go to MVP's page. Take a look at the projects he's got coming out. We're gonna drop the trailers, the links to the trailers in our description. So go support him. We always want to support people who are trying to do something new outside the bubble. So make sure you guys do that. Like, subscribe, hit the bell when we go live. I am your host, Demetrious Johnson. Our guest was Michael Venom Page. Michael Ron's over at my right hand man, the producer. We will see you guys at the next episode of the MightyCast.